So, hi, my name is Piotr Zientara, and probably you know me a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't know all of you, but plenty of you I know, and I'm very happy that all of you, so many friendly and known faces are here. I very appreciate you came tonight for this presentation. This presentation, the visual part could be a little bit broken because we just 10 minutes ago changed the aspect ratio, so don't take this as your target for your CSS. So I wanted to say how to begin or how to set up a development environment for a React app that's going to be run on production. So let's be serious here and let's try to do our best to make the best ever application, the most ideal we had in our life. Shortly about me. I work at Artificial as a front-end developer, and before I was a full-stack developer for 4 years. I worked at 2 different companies, generally writing in Ruby and Ruby on Rails and some JavaScript in the front-end, but now I decided that the JavaScript is running so fast, it will be great. So that I learned how to make awesome pages in React. So last 2 months I was really dedicated to React and all stuff around it. And about me, so I was born in 1985 in Germany, in Nuremberg. Delivered in a family of 2 poor Polish immigrants that were engineers of construction and worked at construction in Germany, but not as engineers. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to tell my story of life. But if you want to talk to me about education, traveling, I opened all these subjects here. I'm on it. And on the other side, of course, development and coding. So what's the plan for the presentation? So I want to I want to share with you my experience in such a way that you can profit from it. So I will tell you quite exactly what I did and what mistakes I done, so that you can understand. What you should not do, or maybe what solutions work for me, and that will be the main lesson learned. I hope from this presentation. So yes, why building even a React app from scratch? As you can see on Facebook page dedicated to design principles of React, you can see that actually React was designed, a library designed to build to build on the top of other applications in an environment of many other types of applications, because that's what Facebook is. So building a React app from scratch could be you could be suspicious about this idea, because why we need handling provided by React to join this app with other parts of the application if we don't have any other parts of the application. But still, many people do it, and there are great tools to build React apps from scratch. So I think you can pay some attention to this. So that's a question to you. What is the most important quality of a developer? Craziness? Laziness. Well, I thought about this, and I also thought about laziness, because maybe I was suspicious. Maybe it's knowledge, or maybe it's something like persistence, because doing this code sometimes needs persistence and not giving up, or maybe communication skills, because everyone complains, "Oh, you programmers, you don't have communication skills," and programmers said, "Oh no, I don't have communication skills. I need to do some exercises." So maybe this, or maybe constructive laziness. So being lazy is really very good as a programmer, because you don't write too much code, you don't create too much boilerplate and try to solve problems in the most efficient way. And yeah, To me, it's probably audacity. So courage. Actually, Winston Churchill said it in the context of being a painter and painting, because when you're a painter, you really need a lot of courage to show this stuff to others. But obviously, if you're a programmer, you're also transparent. You also need to show your GitHub to everyone, and this is very hard, right? Because we need so much courage to write an open source code. Who is an open source contributor? Hands up. You can see that's our courage as a community. So we can exercise it. Yes, that's possible. You can write an open source commit tonight. But why I'm telling this? Because I think that testing new settings and setting up an application also is an act of courage, and well, the consequences are tremendous. So it means that. Yeah, that's not very easy, and probably would like to delegate this to other solutions. Some that provides a boilerplate with many assumptions that were already tested somehow by a community or something. So the project I was doing had several assumptions. Some of them. Yeah, the most important thing you need to know, it was just a wizard with a form creator that was later sent to the backend and gave some results, and it was showing the results, and it had logging in, logging out, and all actually simple features that an app can have. And we wanted to make, of course, that was very important to have separate front-end from backend, and the backend. As I said, is clever, and the front end is stupid. So the stupid front end only shows the data from backend. So even the validations we were trying to move to the backend, and so that was the idea also to make it in a modern way, because it was a rewritten app. So the app from 10 years ago was terrible, and we tried to provide a much better one, and support for browsers IE 11 plus. So obviously Chrome, Firefox, and Safari too. And the most, also a very important assumption that is going to be explained later is that we could move the components between projects. So once we write a React component in project A, we can move it to project B and C if it's good. And of course, depending on that, also the technology we chose was determined. So yesterday I saw on Slack that actually setting up a React project is not difficult at all. We can choose a task runner, a transpiler. Usually we would choose Webpack. Usually we would choose Webpack because most boilerplates do it. We also would like to choose a compiler, one of them, and usually that's Babel, but well, who knows the consequences of all of them. For test, we have 16 libraries that are quite that's quite a lot, but people usually choose Jest. At least the boilerplates I was investigating, but Karma has good PR, I think, and Mocha plus Chai also. And of course, for linting, we can choose also our favorite ESLint, but why not ESHint or others? And a server, so Webpack maybe if you know Webpack, because well, that's who knows Webpack? Heads up. Okay. Oh well. Not that bad actually. And async handler, that's the question that was once asked and answered at WarsawJS, and I will refer to that later. So all of this, and documentation, of course. We can also choose a library for documentation. I didn't count Storybook, but Storybook is another new solution that finally we decided to use in our project, because it shows start components as a documented view. So it makes using of these components very easy and reviewing them. So summing up, we have 0.5 million options of configuration. Well, is that a lot? Is it difficult to find it? Thanks, Michał Janaszek, for publishing your list on our Slack, only for for insiders. So let's make our React our React app. So before we do it, that's the other side. What is the most difficult problem in computer science? Already Piotr also addressed this subject, and you remember these two answers. But I think there are other problems which can also take their place. For example, off-by-one bugs. Who has in your life made a off-by-one bug? So your code would work exactly good when it wasn't off by one. Well, I don't believe you. I really don't believe. No. You're not serious with your questions. Who has read a book last year? Okay. And who is on WarsawJS? Hands up. Okay. Thanks. Very good responsiveness. Okay. And self-learning algorithms should be also considered as very difficult. Security may be issues. They're always different. But I think that we can make a more general, we could address this problem in a more general way and say that just everything that is complex is difficult. So complexity management is something that we call difficult because it's complex, and complexity is a synonym for difficulty. So I think it's nothing, not a discovery, but some obvious thing that, well, maybe can sum this up in a way. But how to start then? How to avoid this problem with complexity and use some existing solution for it? So create React app solves it partly because it doesn't force you to do only one a React app in only one way. You can of course change the setting, but it's very easy to set up. If you have Create React installed, it's just a second and you will have it. And what's there in the initial config? We have hidden Webpack configuration. So if you haven't configured Webpack and you don't want to learn it, that's the best way. And I like this just test runner. It runs automatically test every time when you save your app, so it saves some time of it. And no actually configuration is required. And support for PWA, so this technology that Piotr said. Isn't that great? Yeah, everyone would like to use Create React App. Why not? That's a great solution. But yeah, not everyone liked this idea on PWA because yeah, that's some kind of bias because iOS not going to support it, at least for this year. Hopefully later, yes. That's an example of a test written by in Jest, just to encourage you. That's easy. Everything looks very standard. And yeah, what is missing, and we would like to have in the future in Create React App? That is hot module reloader, and this is great because. Currently, the app is quite big, and the reloading time is something like 2 or 3 seconds. And with hot module reloader, it would be instant. Really, it will be much faster. So if someone from the team of Create React App is watching us, please add the hot module reloader. This will save us time. So yeah, let's try some additional config. Let's make this basic setting even better. So we tried, of course, to add some rigorous ESLint per set because this helps us to validate our code if it's always running with the same standard. The semicolons and all of this it's going to put automatically after we use the option fix. So that's a great solution if we sometimes miss them. And styled components. what Anthony was talking about. To me, it's a great solution because we assumed that our components are going to be easily moved between other apps. So this makes the components very componentish. So they really they're really true components. And defreeze for testing, immutability. So we want, of course, our Redux test to be immutable. Our reducers test, sorry. And Lodash, very helpful. Actually, quite big library, so could be a little bit heavy, but let's try what's going to go out with it. And no generators. Yeah, just because we would like to have skills in writing the same boilerplate to remember how it works well. But obviously, if you like them, you can use a different boilerplate to create some boilerplate components, functional components, or other React stuff. And debugger. That's the greatest thing. I think that every good production React app should use Redux DevTools extension or React DevTools, and this is very cool because it works also as a middleware, so it really has an insight to your application, and you can do plenty of things with it. This is another talk I added to sources, Dan Abramov, who is speaking on that, how to use it, and. Yarn versus NPM. I think Yarn is a little bit faster, so I use Yarn. But both of them are going to work with Create React App, so that's not a problem. If one developer is using Yarn and the other is using NPM, it's still gonna work. And a very interesting question: what is going to be the async handler? Maybe Thunk, maybe Segas, maybe Epics. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Thunk, for example, well, all of these actually are created because we want to have some action that is not an object but is a function that returns many actions. So because in React we have this data flow that action creators are sending the actions and they are doing requests, and they are in the circle received by reducers. And sometimes we want to have two actions, like for example start the spinner and fetch for some data. So these are two actions, so we need to have some async handler for that, for example, Thunk. And we choose Thunk because it's really simple code. It's almost a one-liner library. You can see it on GitHub. It has only 800 bytes. When you compare to the others, they have kilobytes of data. We also can add some scripts in the package JSON, so that, for example, when we make, you can use it just for linting the code, or even we can add some GitHub hooks that will trigger this scripts, and it will make sure that our code is well prepared for pushing. So for the requests to the server, I used Axios, and Axios is super cool because you can have one config for all the requests, and the config, for example, can look like this, and then you have always the same headers in that request, and just write request.post, get, and so on, and I think it is one of the best solutions. And this who knows Visual Studio Code? Who's writing in this? Oh, so there is an exceptional plugin for that, and it shows the import cost of our libraries. So as you can see, React is a really small library. It's even smaller than styled components that Anthony was talking about. So, KVATs, what were the problems that I have with this kind of setting? So, for example, for a long time, I didn't realize that ref is not going to reference to the node, but it referred to the start component. So in this setting, I had to use inner ref. Well, the Airbnb async preset that I chose was not really compatible with the solutions that Facebook was giving. For example, Facebook in his official documentation shows that this way we should assign the nodes in React. But as you can see, this function returns. This function just returns an assignment, and that's something wrong according to Airbnb preset assumptions. The dev server that we have in Create React app can be redundant with another tool that we use in the editor. So, for example, if you use Visual Studio Code, it's not going to do you any help. So maybe it's better to just remove it. And auto-prefixed CSS also are redundant here. Who knows what are auto-prefixed CSS? So this only means that sometimes when you for example use Flexbox, originally you need to add some prefix, so some MS Mozilla or something like this, and this prefix tells that okay, so for WebKit is there is another CSS, and for Mozilla is another CSS style. So this solves your problem, but in this setting we solve this problem twice. And hashed classes. Hashed classes is a problem that actually can be easily solved by adding additional library to handle this. But if you don't add this library, your inspector will look like this. So you have just hashed classes that don't tell you which class really ruined your CSS. Okay, so yeah, and there is a thing in about Create React App that there is an option to eject, and eject means that the Create React app is not going to hide the Webpack configuration and all the other interiors from you. And I hope to not to do it because the app seemed to be very simple, but finally when we wanted to have some support for start components, we had to do it. So yeah, well, Create React App together with start components is maybe not the best match. Okay, so yeah, and start components also put a lot of stuff in your head, so don't be surprised if you use it and see something like this. It's growing every time you type something, so it could be very surprising for the first time for you. Okay, other solutions. Well, now the interesting part. We want to compare the boilerplates, the other boilerplate solutions that we can apply. So, for example, React boilerplate is very, very popular. React Starter Kit too. I remember I wrote my first React app something like 2 years, no, 1.5 years ago, using React Starter Kit, and also Redux Simple Starter. And this is only because I saw it has a lot of stars, and it was actually one of the setting that I was exercising quite recently, doing a Udemy course on React Redux, so writing modern web applications, and I thought that, well, this is a very simple setting, so maybe it's great for start, and it really worked. I think it doesn't solve too much problems for you, but if you just begin, it's great. So not a production app, of course. So yeah, dependencies. Oh, and you can see that there is a new player, Neutrino. Neutrino has 0 dependencies, and all the dependencies you would like to add, you use by managing presets. So you can add only dispersers you need, so you have more control on that, and it's a kind of wrapper also, a kind of wrapper on Webpack. So you don't know, if you don't know Webpack, you can use this for adding some configurations. And yeah, after eject, it appears that create React app has more dependencies. And if you want to compare by candidates repos, I think the most interesting point is that, well, there are a lot of issues here, and that's not a positive indicator, I think. And what surprised me that Neutrino still has less stars from the chosen group of boilerplates, but it has a lot of contributors, so I expect the number of commits to be this range next year. So as you can see, the project is developing. And libraries. So some of the boilerplates are maximum boilerplates. So they make as much plenty of decisions for you. And for example, the React boilerplate decided that the Flux implementation is going to be Redux, async handler Redux, Sagas, and test environment, and it's also going to use generators as a special feature. So this provides you maximum, and Neutrino is the opposite on the spectrum. So this is going to be for more flexible apps, and if you can use a rigid app, you can use React boilerplate, for example, and React Starter and Create React App are somewhere in between. License is all permissive. You can use it commercially with a commercial project. The only thing I don't fully understand is that Neutrino doesn't allow you to use its trademark. I don't really understand what does it mean. So, but generally they're all permissive libraries, licenses. Okay, so the risk is great, and the decision is yours. It was my decision to use Create React App, but finally it didn't match very well style components. So yeah, lot of failure. So sources. That's what I can recommend you for reading for this and investigating. There are also some films. I think they're going to be useful for you. Thanks for watching.